All right, I want to welcome everybody to the Parrot Club's September 2021 meeting. We're very happy tonight to have Chris Driggins join us, the founder and president of Parrots for Patriots. It was founded by Northwest Bird Rescue in Vancouver, Washington in June of 2015 as a program to match veterans with parrots, bringing much needed companionship to both. Chris felt that many veterans needed a companion and many birds need new homes, so he decided to bring them together to heal the trauma experienced on both sides. And he's placed more than 100 parrots with veterans so far. So we're very happy to hear from Chris tonight, and he's going to tell us all about the program and how it works. So Chris, the floor is yours. Oh, Chris, you're on mute.
Okay, obviously I wasn't paying attention. I'm Chris Driggins, yes, the founder, and this is Chi-Chi, the founder of Parrots for Patriots. And you're quite right, Amy. We noticed really since 2000 when we started placing birds, a good portion of our adopters were veterans that were single, wanted to remain single, didn't want to have that much more human interaction due to PTSD and whatnot. And finally was influenced in 2015 when I went to go pick up a couple of birds from a veteran that had passed. And he had all the pictures in front of his desk when he was in Boy Scouts and in the service. And the birds off on the left, we like to go pick up birds to see what they viewed. And they saw his entire life and then the horses out the window. So we try to rehome the birds in the same type of environment if possible. And Chi-Chi's a bit of a clown here. I've known her for just about 20 years, but she's only been, yes, we'll go bye-bye in a little bit. And her crackers are pine nuts. So, yeah, I know you want to know. So she's our ambassador girl. When we go out and pick up birds, she knows how to say hi to the birds, comfort them. They ride in between the seat or in the far back if it's a macaw. We have a Ford Transit, and she talks to them quite a bit. And she makes it an easier transition. When we also do our meet and greets, we have her come out first, then the bird, and the bird sort of understands what's going on. But we've been blessed, or actually, I guess I've been blessed to share the wealth of how calming birds can be and help you accept responsibilities and everything else they do for you. I wasn't sure, were there any questions someone may have about our program?
Well, I guess we just want to hear everything about how it works. And I know you have a care package that goes with veterans.
Oh, my Lord.
And one question I had, so you founded Northwest Bird Rescue, and then you founded Parrots for Patriots. Does Northwest Bird Rescue still exist, or is this basically a new name for that organization?
Very good question. Northwest Bird Rescue is actually the parent company, and yes, it does still exist. Prior to it, we were BEBSO, which stands for Birdman's Exotic Bird Sanctuary, primarily because we were taking in birds that were unwanted. Veterinarians would call us about someone wanting to euthanize a bird due to its age or behavioral problems, or they couldn't afford the vet bill. Then I was talked into starting Northwest Bird Rescue, which I wanted to remain small, but we ended up growing. And but Northwest Bird Rescue is primarily for our civilians, which we handle here locally in 3 states, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington, and a few out of Alaska, which we primarily want folks to drive their birds to us, not to fly them. In either event, Parrots for Patriots was dear to my heart. I didn't know how to start it. And one day, as a matter of fact, that gentleman I was talking about, when I went to pick up his birds, on the way home, I stopped by and picked up our mail, and I was thinking, God, how can we start this program? I don't have the resources right now to really start it. And picked up the mail, and we got a check for $2,000. I'm going, oh my goodness, we're behind on all these bills, but I've already set off, all the bills to be paid. I go, how can I start this? How can I start this? And overnight, It just all came to me. I just put it together. We are going to be changing our logo pretty soon due to political reasons. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of phone calls about that and emails and inquiries that we'll be taking the crest of it and just going Parrots for Patriots and possibly adding Parrots in the bottom. So Parrots for Patriots, Parrots. And unfortunately having to dissolve the flag because it's become a double-edged sword. But what I've learned once we started Parrots for Patriots, I was very hush-hush about it at first. But once we announced it, it took off like no tomorrow. We're having some conflicts or some concerns with Google. We do have 3 501c3s. The first one is Northwest Bird Rescue, which we've changed to Northwest Parrot Rescue because of smartphones and all the wildlife phone calls, which we used to do, but we simply don't have the time. I'm sure you may have the same issues. Then Parrots for Patriots, who has its own separate phone number, its own separate 501c3, has sprouted off a third division, which is Parrots for Patriots Toys. And let me find a perch for her. And I don't have a pine nuts yet. Hold on. What we're going to end up doing, though, well, we have already separated all 3 different entities, but Google, in their infinite wisdom, has merged all 3 of them on Google, which means the reviews we've been getting for Parrots for Patriots somehow is sliding into Parrots for Patriots Toys. So I've been having a difficulty responding back to them, as well as them posting. And I got an email this morning from a veteran. What happened to the post I made? It disappeared. I went, I don't know. So it's something I still have to work out with Google. Separating the entities, and that means I have to come up with a third address. We may end up having to do that. We hate giving out our physical locations due to us being on the news a long time ago. You end up with abandonments. There was an OTV channel up here called Northwest Cable News, and they ran a 3-minute loop on us for about, oh goodness, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the 4th Monday was a holiday weekend, 200 phone calls a day. But once we ended up at the very, very end, on Monday and Tuesday, I opened the door, a cage full of parakeets, cockatiels, a crow, and I need to know, just the basics, name, age, and whatnot. And then it kept happening. We would put up a fence, put up a sign, but this TV channel said our address on the news and put it on their website. And I emailed them, tried to get it to stop, but the word was already out. So we ended up having to move. After 3 months, 240 different animals, rabbits, cats, whatever, were tossed over the fence, regardless if we had cameras out. So now we're on about 2 acres, not too far away from that location, and abandonments are still happening. I know the new homeowner. So we get a periodic call every now and then. But now Google wants us to give up our 2 addresses. We have 2 addresses here, but it's ridiculous. Although I now have 14 cameras, it's still going to happen again. So we have an address in Portland, a house down there. We will possibly move our toy company down there, so we have separation. But that's just another challenge. It's about growing so quickly. And our number 1 priority are the birds. So because of COVID, we're limited on staff, and we're dedicated to our veterans. This week alone, we placed 4, and we have 2 more upcoming this week with a veteran who's about 2 hours away. And then a mother of a veteran on Saturday. So we're averaging really about 2 a week. Last week was a busy week. It was actually a total of 6 and 7 days, but one of them was 2 macaws, 1 at a time. So, and they were not a dynamic duo. They came, 1 from a foster home and 1 from here. And so we start off with the process of doing their taming and training in the morning, giving them a certain treat, giving them a regimen of treatment. And so the next veteran or the next adopter, veteran or not, needs to follow that protocol. Hence, that's why they get the gift package, which includes, I could run out the door, but it includes a Waze camera, a little baby camera, the Miracle Blender Whip, because we use, a matter of fact, here's, give you an idea. We take organic bananas, non-salted pistachios, almonds. We take 8 different nuts, cashews, non-salted. Of course, peanuts, non-salted. We're working with considering using the this coconut. We're just thinking about it this week. Anyway, we put it inside of a blender and make this nut powder, and we rub it into this nut bread. And in the morning, we walk around from cage to cage, and of course, the bread's nice and hot. We rub in the nut powder, and so all the oils melt into it. So when I go from cage to cage with this little 1-inch piece of birdie bread, they snatch it out of your hand. And then I follow up right behind it with apple. And so I sort of feel like a Catholic priest going toast, toast, toast from cage to cage. And the nice thing about that is the ones that are permanent party, some will drop it and go apple because they know apple's coming next. And then I'll do a second round of whatever leftover toast for all the big guys. Yeah, so that ritual has to be followed after that. I know, tell you what. One of them? No, okay, here you go. Here's your cracker. So that's the beginning part of the ritual. Then after their toast, then we work with them a little bit one-on-one. Then they go out to the aviaries. While they're out there, of course, we're doing their chop and cleaning their cages, changing the water, seed bowls, fruit and veggie bowls. Then when they come in, they get their fresh chop. Then every other night we cook for them. And there's a variety of different recipes on our Northwest Bird Rescue site, as well as Parrots for Patriots, which is a progress in being changed. But due to limited staff, once again, our focus are on the birds first, then secondary on the 2 different websites. And there's a third one we have coming up too that I don't know if I should mention or not. It's a matchmaking website, so that when you go into it, it's like a dating website. I'm a parrot looking for a parrot, or I'm a man looking for a parrot, or a woman looking for a parrot, because it's all due to the bird's bio. And I've just pulled about 10 birds offline because we're getting the wrong people inquiring on our current application, which is frustrating. I don't know if it's happened to you, but if it says for men only, and then a lady inquires saying, oh, I'll convince the bird to like me, it doesn't work that way. And so we're going through those challenges. One of the biggest ones is, it will state in one question, we understand we will not place a macaw or a cockatoo with somebody who resides in an apartment or a condo, but yet they think they're special. They'll click on it and they select a Moluccan cockatoo to live in their apartment. And we like to only work with experienced people, but we are blessed to have a copy of Parrot Confidential that when a novice contacts us, we make them watch it, and we'll ask them the 3 primary questions: the name of the Moluccan cockatoo up front in its story, the name about Basil and its story, the Amazon in the middle, and Mark at the very end. And a good 10% of them get back and say, no way, I don't want a bird no matter what. So that's important. That really is to let folks know that it's a lifetime commitment, and you have to keep to it. So
I think that's fantastic that you make them watch Parrot Confidential. We know Mark quite well. We work closely with foster parrots here, so
he is awesome.
Yes. So can you tell us more about the process of how you pick the veteran, how you pick the bird? I think I saw on your website that in the application that person has that bird experience already. So is that true? You won't adopt after somebody who hasn't had a bird before? Or how do you judge if they have enough experience, or how strong the commitment's going to be, that sort of thing?
Thank you for that question.
I swear I'm not a plant. These are just things that I want to know.
Well, at this time, we request that everyone have at least 1 year experience. We don't have time to give the tutelage that we used to, especially with limited staff. Cheech? Yeah, I knew you were going to drop it. To pre-announce in advance, we are going to be opening up in 4 different states. Right now, we're in talks with. They will have their own criteria on weeding out a novice or not, because you don't want to have someone jump in a Ferrari if they don't even know how to use a clutch. So if they were going to start off with a small bird that they're going to keep, or a medium size, I would recommend it. But to answer your question, depending upon what bird that they select from the website, what's available, and thus, as I mentioned, I just pulled actually 12 off the site. We're just getting too many inquiries right now, and I need to take care of the birds first. We're going to be shutting down by the 15th of next month temporarily, just suspending services because we need to get our toy company going. Step up. So once we get the toy company going, we'll get back into the birds. You're just jealous. I think, Barbara, I think your bird is being flirted with. So I can't hear you. You must be muted.
He's talking and responding.
Oh, he is.
Yes.
Okay. You can say hello to me. He said hi. She interacts quite well. Hello. Okay. They're not back there. They're not playing a trick. It's TV. It's okay. Yeah, she's extremely smart. The passenger seat in my car is a tree. And if we get caught in a traffic jam, I'll call one of the birds at home and put her on the cell phone, and she'll see. She thinks so she wants to talk to the bird, and the bird will talk back to her. And she has her favorites in the house. And it's funny though, some people will look up and they'll see the bird and see me holding the phone, and then I'll turn and show the bird's talking to another bird, and they brack, they just die laughing. So yeah, she's just really, really smart. I know she's not there. So I know. So this is a type of interaction we show our veterans that they can get out of their bird too, if the bird likes them. That's why it's a double meet and greet. And then depending upon their level of experience, their residents, like if they all, what really upsets me, tax time, people will contact us. Oh, we just got our check. We want one of those pink birds we saw on YouTube. So that's why we're coming out with this new matchmakers website, to let them know that the bird that you like, when you click on it, there's an audio. You'll hear how loud it is. Then once they start to fill out the application, the size of your residence compared to the size of the bird, level of experience, and so forth. So the algorithm's set up for the success of the bird in the meet and greet. So there's not any more of the folks that's in an apartment that wants a macaw. Step up. Step up. And they can go buy one from a store and find out later it's not going to work. Step. It's okay. Turn this monitor. I would do a monitor system so she's looking at it too.
And do you have any requirements, like, for example, no breeding allowed with adopted birds?
Cannot breed, sell. How's it with the dachshund mix, terrier mix? We're working on adding on a chow. Certain dogs, we will have to do a home visit. If it chases a squirrel or whatnot, it might have the instinct to hurt a bird. And then you cannot sell the bird. We have first right of rescission, but we also give you, in the event of an emergency, fire, flood, or whatnot, we will give you up to 6 months of free boarding. So the bird will come back to us instead of boarding, because the bird knows us better and we know the level of care that bird's going to deserve. We always keep a reserve room for 20 birds, because we, at least once a year, knock on wood, we get a 20 bird rescue, usually in the middle of the night. We did a 7 bird last month. And it's nice being needed, but boy, are we needed, we have a long waiting list. Well, 24 right now on our waiting list to come in, and half of them we will take in next month once we start closing down our suspending services. We're not closing. We need to focus on launching the toy company for the last year. We have a lot of people that really want our toys, and they're really, really, really nice toys.
Nice. And do you have any permanent birds there other than your own companions, or does every bird that comes in get adopted out?
No, I definitely have my own permanent birds, some that I've had since the 80s. In the military, we call it permanent party. So some of my permanent party birds. Yes, on my other hat, Tarzan and Jane, my 2 logo birds for Northwest Parrot Rescue. Then we have, I have a total of 9 of my permanent birds. two of which are disabled or are handicapped, broken wing, that I placed in California. My blind sister smuggled the bird back up on a train up here to me when they went through a divorce. And we actually had to buy that bird back. It was disappointing, but they were going through some financial issues. But my wonderful sister jumped on a train, went all the way up to Lancaster, got the bird, and brought him all the way up here in on the Amtrak inside of a one of the sleepers, and brought Sammy back to me. A lilac crowned Amazon. I rescued him from a cow pasture in Chino, California. The cow won. He broke his wing, which he still has his wing. But yeah, Sammy and I are, Sammy's my permanent. This other double yellow-headed Amazon, well, I already closed him out. I placed him with a veteran's wife. He learned how to sing opera, and his godparent was a neighbor. Well, unfortunately, when she passed like 6 years later, they went to the neighbor. The bird started singing opera in her voice. She couldn't handle the mental stress of it. So went back to her husband. He couldn't handle it. And they were on the border of Canada, a 10-hour drive, round trip. So I went back and got that bird, which is a Buddy, a double yellow-headed. And he used to be my personal bird that I took in, and Chi-Chi replaced his spot. So when he jumped in the car, when I had him in the carrier, and I put Chi-Chi back in started putting Chi-Chi back in the other carrier, she jumped back in his tree as I was pulling him out of the carrier, and he got insulted. But in either event, he's another permanent party. I'm gonna have a couple of other ones. You gonna go potty? Step up.
She even tells you that, huh?
Yeah, she'll let you know. Oh yeah.
Oh, nice,
Go
nice.
potty. Good girl. Good spot. All right. Come
Yeah,
on.
do you verify that anyone who applies is actually a veteran?
There's a half a dozen ways to tell, even on the phone. But absolutely, we've only had a couple of people try that one, and it's pretty easy when you ask them a couple of standard questions that only military would know. And one fun one is, what was your favorite cadence in basic training? And then that's even before asking them, what was your MOS, which is job skill. And then there's a half a dozen other one-liner questions. If they don't answer in seconds, then you ask them for ID, or their DD-214.
And you allow any veteran, so you would include things like the reserves or the Coast Guard?
Any non-active veteran, because I don't want the bird to suffer separation anxiety if he's called out.
Right, right. So even if somebody's in the reserves, that would be okay or not, because in the reserves, they can still get called up.
No, that's active duty. Correct. Right. The reserves,
Okay.
no. We even will take in, or rather allow placement under certain circumstances of somebody that was dishonorably discharged. If it was for the right reasons, or if it's believable, if they have if it's a Section 8, it was a medical discharge, or as long as they're a non-violent person. The ones that are on medication, we have to have them sign a waiver. We do work with the doctor, making sure that they're non-violent. One thump, as you well know, can injure a bird, and the type of bird that they qualify for. So it's not as easy as a normal placement with a person like that. And there's a different adoption agreement or contract, which you may want to call it, more than you cannot breed, sell, or trade, but the add-on up to 3 surprise visits a year. And if you don't answer the door within 5 minutes time, and I really want to change it to 3 minutes time, if we suspect you're breeding, or if you finally open the door and the cage is perfectly clean, that's a red flag. I want to see the bird poop. I want to see its diet, which I'm sure you can tell diet by bird poop by now. If we suspect you're breeding, or you're smoking in there, or there's candles or whatnot, you automatically relinquish the bird. That's part of the contract. And it's not, and it says agreement and then contract. They let them know, and if deemed necessary, if we need to call an animal control or law enforcement, that you will relinquish the bird. And so that contract we have signed in advance, unlike another bird rescue that recently closed called APR, All Parrots Rescue. You can check them out on the news. They went out to do a surprise visit, tried to get the umbrella cockatoo back, turned into a fist fight. The cops came out. She still got the cockatoo, but they ended up having to go to court. And Sonia just recently closed, Sonia Brewer. I can't call her a good friend, but she's a friend. They were going to give us their URL, and they're still contemplating it, which is apr.com or allparrotsrescue.com. And it's just, we were going to forward it to us because I imagine it's on other websites. But they're moving somewhere out east, and I don't want to say where, I don't want to go out the location, but they're going through some medical concerns and enough of the Northwest where they want to move to the south or out east somewhere. So wonderful lady, wonderful group. It's not the animals, it's the people that can burn you out. I'm sure you may have experienced that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. So that's good. So you don't allow smoking or candles then?
Oh no, they have to go through our whole list. If you go to our website, there's PDF forms, the do's and don'ts, poisonous plants, poisonous foods. Of course, we all know Teflon pans, plug-in air fresheners, candles, that long list, oven spray, self-cleaning ovens, anything that could harm the bird. So that's part of our class.
Oh,
and that's
great.
why them and or their spouse, but most important, their godparent know it too. They also get the window stickers for their windows, that how many cats and dogs and birds they have. They get our stickers that go on the window, and refrigerator mags that go on their refrigerator, their neighbor's refrigerator, and their godparents' refrigerator. And then the general reminder that my nickname is Birdman, but that's also the phone number. So if I don't answer, one of my volunteers will. So there's the Oregon number 503 Birdman, which is exclusively for our veterans. That's right. And we request that they email us first before calling, and absolutely no texting, because we have our phones forwarded back and right. And the amount of texts that we received at one time, it's unfortunate when you tell people not to text, especially if it's a blood emergency. Just stop or call me, don't answer. 2 Mondays ago, back-to-back sick birds that both passed away. I'm getting videos on. Started my Monday off just horribly. And my Mondays are my busiest days. But those birds are always up underneath our umbrella. I paid for the necropsy on one, and we split the fee on the second one. And one was cancer. There's nothing I could do about it. Elderly Amazon. And the other one was just a wonderful blue and gold macaw. But and it had a heart issue. So that's why it's important to get a good bio on where the birds came from, if they were on well water or not, or if they were in a high stress environment. We don't like placing around children. It's not mainly the adopters' children, it's their friends' children that come by, and when the parents aren't around, stick their finger in the cage or could possibly prod the bird and do damage. So we're really hypersensitive on that. There's a few cases where we have placed with children with extenuating circumstances, and the contract being extenuated with a few, addendums, added onto it. That's
great. So you brought up Array. I was wondering if maybe we could talk a little bit more about. So I know some of the veterans that you adopt who carry diagnoses of PTSD. So you said you work with them, work with their doctors just to make sure that this will be a safe environment for the bird.
Yeah, you touched on a very delicate situation there. Yes, I do. Unfortunately, we just lost a good veteran. The ones that are going through some severe depression, the birds are able to help pull them out. And this particular gentleman, he even left a review. You can find it on our website. His name is Scott Kaplan. Anyway, Scott had a terrible story. He's in a wheelchair bound, and a couple of our veterans we built a special perch for the wheelchair, a special T-perch with the branch scissors up to on top of the cage with a playpen. So when they call their bird, they can go across and come down. But to answer your question, yes, depending upon what their needs are, and number one, depending upon the bird. The particular bird that he received, the bird's name is Sunshine. She's inside right now. And I didn't tell Scott the full story about Sunshine, and because I wanted to surprise him. And he lives up in the Dalles. His nurse wasn't available. So I went and picked up Sunshine from the foster home, brought him up to his place, which was an 1.5-hour drive, step up, and taught him to, I let him meet her, and they fell in love. first thing she goes up to Karen, hello, sunshine, how are you? And at the first thing you do when you walk in the room, Sunshine will say, hello, big boy. Well, that made his day there, right? But 12 noon sharp, Sunshine was trained previously to sing the entire song, You Are My Sunshine. So she sings the entire song for him. He breaks down crying, calls me on up, tells me how much he's in love with him or her. And I should bring her out here, but neither, she's a double yelling at Amazon. But the thing that really gets me about this, I got a phone call. I'm heading up to Seattle late at night, and the paramedic calls me, tells me Scott won't allow them to take him out unless someone gets Sunshine. And mind you, I'm near Tacoma. I'm an hour and a half north of here. Scott's another 2 hours out in the Dalles, hour and a half. So I had to come back, unload my van full of freezers. Chi-Chi, come on, don't be mad. I have to unload my van full of freezers, go get Sunshine in her cage. And Scott came back home a week later. He lasted 2 days, went back to the hospital, came back again. And I go, Scott, when I picked up Sunshine, it was 95 degrees in your apartment. You have to, and there's a new apartment he moved to. I go, you have to get a better air conditioner and a better godparent. So it took him a week to get that together. His godparent I didn't approve of, so we assigned one of our veterans. And so by the time we were ready to come up, inspect the air conditioner and bring Sunshine back, Scott wasn't answering the phone. So I sent by one of my local godparents who discovered Scott passed away. And the downside about that is, to this day still, Sunshine still sings that song, You Are My Sunshine. And if anybody knows the song, the last lyric is, please don't take my sunshine away. And it tears me up every day. So that's why you have to have a godparent. Easy as that.
So everyone who adopts has to have someone that can take the bird.
Somebody that lives in another residence, right? They can take the bird, at least hold him 24 hours until you come back, a
Right.
minimum. And so, Cheech, I'm going to put her in a cage.
I mean,
over here.
oh, sure.
Cheech. Step up. And step. Showing that, so I'm going to take that off. You're okay. Over here somehow. I purchased this RV as my new office because I got tired of being kicked out of my other office by all the African Greys going, good night, and going to the bathroom and staying on my laptop until my butt got numb, and then go to my bed on the laptop. And I finally saw an RV go by and go, duh, that's all I need. So next thing
I didn't
know,
even realize there was an RV there.
Yeah,
But that's a great idea about the godparent. I never actually thought about that. When I don't know any adoption organization that requires somebody to have a backup person, but
please pass the word.
that's a great idea.
No one has that crystal ball, especially with COVID. The amount of rescues I've done when a family member discovers their brother had birds and didn't even know it, and only a certain amount of them survived the 3 days that he was missing. Yeah, that started back in 2000. I've been involved with more than I want to on large rescues. I've done about 5 of them. I've only shown like 1 or 2 on YouTube because the other ones are just heartbreaking. I'll show the surviving birds. I won't show any of them that had passed. I've had the coroner's office call me one night on Valentine's Day night, matter of fact. So, honey, if I don't come back with a bird, of course I'm not cheating on you, but the bird was walking on the body. The lady got out of the shower and hit her head on something. And the guy came over at midnight, discovered her body. Coroner's office came in, and the guy's freaked out over the bird because it's walking on the body in a circle going, bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye.
Gosh.
And yeah, I know, broke my heart too. So they didn't know what to do. Of course, throw a blanket or towel over it, put it in the cage, I'm on the way type of thing. So when you have that happen multiple times, yes, you have to have a godparent, especially for a veteran, someone who's checking in at least every other day. And that's what happened with Scott. He didn't have any other family members, at least that we knew of. After his demise, we discovered one out in Iowa that's going to have his dual funeral. But yeah, it's really sad that a lot of folks didn't think about a godparent. And I'm working a couple of cases. One right now, the daughter wasn't allowed into the mom's house. The mom had dementia. The bird's been free flight. It's the same case scenario I did 5 years ago. The mom would let me in. When I got in there, there's dog feces everywhere. The cockatiels are flying around eating the feces, and no cage. And so I had to, capture them and bring them in. But this is an African gray that has never been caged. And now it's sitting in the back of a bird store. She's boarding it until mom's ready to sign the relinquishment form. So in the meantime, I'm worried about the gray going through self-mutilization and separation anxiety. So each case story is a different case. Today, 2 different regions, someone's aunt, that passed away. 2 different types of birds, 2 different, one down in South Oregon and one right up the road here by an hour and a half. And they're on the waiting list. Although they're an emergency, I have other priorities in front of them. And I'm already booked through Saturday. So depending on the level of urgency, I can rebook a meet and greet appointment. But yeah, everyone needs a godparent. Even all the birds I have here, that's why I can't take these in until I know I have a qualified godparent, because I don't allow any more than 5 birds per godparent. So
if somebody doesn't have a friend that's willing to take the bird in, which is probably true of a lot of people, you have a network of people, so you can assign somebody who the person might not have known previously, but they're part of your network.
Yes, only deemed necessary. So I don't want to abuse all the guys who I have out there. And then second off, I want them to go out and meet the person. And my guys are professionals. I mean, one's a doctor, a PA, other one's in real estate. Most of my people are stable, or most of our other veterans are stable, either have their own company or they have a job they have to work at, but they're going to be there for them. So at the end of all of our, here, I'll show you. And we have another stack here. At the end of all of our files, TD means turn down, we have a zip code at the end of it, of course, there's a zip code on the back of each one of our folders. The reason why is so that when they're in our phones, and everybody who, this is just the last week and this week starting. When they're in our phones is that zip code. If something happens to them, we ask you, okay, what zip code are you in? And then I can quickly pull it on up, either there or off my cell phone or off the database. And I have someone in the area who can help you out. So whether if you adopt from us or relinquish from us, we ask them to be a temporary emergency godparent until we can come out and pick up the bird.
That is fabulous. I mean, I just haven't heard of that before, and I think that's a great idea, because
please share it with the world.
We always have issues where people, people have birds and they don't have a backup, or something's happened to their backup, things have changed, and then not only they've got nobody to say board the bird with if they go away, but there's an emergency, they go into hospital for a few days, there's nobody that can go in the house and feed the birds and all that. And so
right,
having a network like this, it almost reminds me a little bit of like Alcoholics Anonymous, where everybody has a person that they can call an emergency. And
that's probably a kinder word, a sponsor. Thank you.
Sponsor,
right.
Yeah, because see, I've already been called guilty by using the word godparent. Someone said, "You must be Catholic." I went, "What? How do you know that?" Godparent. Oh,
well, the other thing is, and I mean, totally irrelevant, but I've been seeing this argument online recently about, is a god person also the kid's guardian? Because godparent doesn't necessarily mean that they're the guardian. They're supposed to provide instruction, and that you need to separately specify a guardian in your will, because a godparent doesn't necessarily mean they're going to take on the duty of raising your child if something happens to you. So
right. Well, we also we changed that verbiage to the guardian, and that's why they have to sit through the class so they know the basics. No avocado, no MSG, no salt, 10, 12 hours sleep during every time of year. They know the basics. So even if they're guardian or sponsor, they need to know the basics. No aerosol, no smoking, no Teflon pans. Just hold the bird for 24 hours until it gets to us or whoever the next, family member is that knows this basic education.
Yeah, that's fabulous. That's absolutely fabulous. And now the veterans that want to adopt, do they they get multiple sessions with the bird to make sure they're a
A
good
minimum
fit?
2. I've
Okay.
gentleman driving up an hour and 45 minutes one way just to meet his birds and his wife. And then after that, he goes back home, sleeps on it, comes back up again. And once he's done, and depending on how comfortable I feel with him, although they already have a bird, either I'll have them do a video of their home, which I don't tell them the last moment, because in his case, he's looking at getting a pair of our African grays, a pair of twin brothers. Then I'll go deliver the 2 birds, their trees. With our veterans, they get a really nice, gosh, I wish it was out in my area. They get a really nice playpen, depending upon the diameter and what we have made, on a rolling stand, depending on if it's a macaw or a cockatoo. They get either a tree or they get one of our manzanita stands. We make much nicer ones than this. This is a small one for in here. They receive the first 3 months for their food, which is very expensive for macaws if you have macaws. But we do our mix. We show them our mix, all the ingredients, dried fruit and goodies, pellets, raw nuts, shelled nuts, that is. And then the way how we mix it, they get the 3 containers. So when the first one empties, then they still have a 20-pound bag of macaw mix, 5-pound bag of the pellets, which we're switching over to Nutriberries. Or Mr. Ted Lefevre, Dr. Ted Lefevre, we just he's a friend of ours, gave us a very special deal on a pallet. So we just received in a pallet of pellets and also Nutriberries. So we share the wealth with that and pass it out to all of our veterans. Mailing it's turned out to be expensive. So now next time I do my route up north, I'm going to stop at a few houses and, like I did last week, and drop off portions of care packages, because 20 pounds of Nutriberries was like, God, $35. So yeah,
So
we're doing that.
and you tailor it to the type of bird, right? So
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
so like a cockatiel, you're not going to give a fruit mix to, because that's not a, the cocktails don't really eat fruit. So I would assume everything's, or nuts. They're not really into nuts much either. So I guess it would depend on what do you do mostly large birds? Because you mentioned a lot of large birds. Are you
Right
also
now,
doing smaller
yeah,
birds?
because our small bird division, she's in Portland. She has a rental house out in Bend that she's finally, even before COVID, the people hadn't been paying their rent in years, and that's her retirement home. And so she'll be moving out there. There's a new bird rescue out there called Second Chance Birds, sort of a sprout off of Barbara Baggs from the Buffalo area, Rochester. But they're 2 separate entities. But Donna up there, she'll be working with Donna. I'm still trying to find a qualified 2 foster homes down here that can take in small birds. Oh yeah, we get the calls on those too, but right now they take up just as much time as the large birds, and we're getting a lot more 4-to-1 on large bird calls than small bird calls.
Interesting. And when if someone calls and they said, I want to get rid of my bird, he doesn't like me, he bites, he screams, whatever. Do you try to do behavioral work with them, or refer them to a behaviorist before they give up the bird?
Good question. In fact, I have that happening right now with this one gentleman's aunt's bird. Doesn't even know if it's wild captured, a yellow nape, which we know how hard they can bite. And it's wild, and he's going to be filling out the relinquishment form the best he can. We had a behavioralist. She's now had a baby, professional services she actually had out of a veterinarian's office. But no, that's going to be up to myself and the qualified godparent, or guardian, kind of sponsor. I'm more than likely will help him out, depending on a couple of factors. Number one, it's like real estate around here. The footprint of the cage has to be available here in my quarantine, in my front room, and the same thing at my foster home, and the level of experience. This yellow nape, the foster home I'm thinking about, they're in isolation right now because he's a PA and he's been exposed to COVID. So we do everything outside on his deck. So I'm picking up 2 macaws from him. So he might, and he's still at work, so I'm waiting till he gets off. And I got to try to talk him into getting bit a dozen times as a backup. But that bird's going to come in here to us possibly next Tuesday. because I talked to him twice today, and he's not in an immediate emergency. And if he was, then there's nothing I could do till like Wednesday right now, or rather Thursday, because we're quite busy, you know.
Sure, I'm sure. So when you get a bird in that is relinquished, that does have behavioral problems, it sounds like you work with the bird first before
yeah.
you put them up for adoption, right?
I have a couple here. I've in fact, it's Goffin's cockatoo. Yes, part of the 7-bird rescue. Entirely scared of everything. He wants to know what's going on. His mom is gone. His other siblings are there. They're not siblings, but his other flock. They're all in one room. They have 2 widescreen TVs, and he's been out of the cage since day 3 after his gram stain. And he'll go in to eat, but he likes staying up on top. He's a cockatoo, but he's not chewing the walls or anything. He is enjoying his freedom. But if you approach him any more than 3 feet, he runs over and jumps on one of the other empty cages or hides, and I'll just go over and change his bowls and let him know it's okay. You have to earn the trust, and that's what we're slowly doing with him. It's going to take some time. I've had birds like that where you can force tame, towel train, toss the towel over and wrap him up and pet him and all of that. This particular one, I don't want to do that to him. But yeah, but the thing is, the birds are first, and how much time we have for them, you know. That's why I don't want to overcommit on this yellow nape.
And you have, so are most of the birds in foster homes, or some are with you, some are in foster?
Right now it's about a 50-50. Good question. We had 4 foster homes. We're down to we had 5. We're down to 3 good foster homes and 1 emergency one. We do need more foster homes. The applicants are out. I mean, the applications out there. We've asked. I have a new social media group. These 2 ladies have been posting out applications. We only had a few come in that are, bless their hearts, they want to help, but they have no experience, and I'm not going to do that to them. I can't hold their hand, you know.
Right.
I know it's going to happen. If you don't mind, I need to pause for one moment. I'm going to get the air conditioning on in here. It's starting to get warm.
Oh, sure. I want to ask you, by the way, how many volunteers do you have? Do you have?
Not enough.
Not enough. So, I mean, people come and help you clean cages and do all that stuff?
Only because of COVID, I only have 2 volunteers. I don't have children. So that's one of my concerns for this last quarter.
Sure.
And they still have to be masked up. I have a pre-existing condition. We need more volunteers in our wood shop, veterans that preferably don't have children. But in either event, that's another building down there. We don't have enough volunteers. At one time we had 12. Now we are at 6, 7, just because of the ones that had children. Plus some have lost their jobs. They're looking for new jobs. My big thing right now, when I get my 3rd shot, I'll feel better. But still, I keep my distance from people.
Sure, absolutely. And I would assume volunteers don't need to be veterans, right?
No. We do have once a month a veterans only gathering. And it's because some of our veterans are antisocial, like I was too. A constant stammerer and stutterer. That's one of the great things that Cheech has done for me. With Parrots, as you know, you got to be careful what you say, how you say it, how slow you say it, or because they'll mimic the same thing. I know, although I've known Chi-Chi for years, once I took her in, she didn't say anything for the first 2 days. And I was outside here pressure washing some cages, and I turned off the pressure washer, and it was dead silent. So I went, what's going on? So I opened the door, I walk in the house, everyone's quiet. It's like, you know, what's going on? So I looked to the left, I looked to the right, I looked down at Chi-Chi's new cage. Her very first sentence to me at the house, the first sentence, she just looked up at me and went, "There's no evidence." She said that. It was like, oh no. So I started counting heads and walked around because she was quiet for 2 days. And then she got a reaction out of it and started laughing. So on occasion, she'll say there's no evidence just to get my attention. She has
they said, you know, silence is golden unless you have a parrot, in which case it's very suspicious.
Right.
I got to remember that one.
I think I've seen shirts with that or something. So yeah, if it's too quiet, something's going on.
I'm working on a bumper sticker that says, "You can't intimidate me. I have a macaw," with its beak wide open, you know.
You know, I would love to hear a little bit about your backstory. I mean, how did you first get into birds? How long have you been a bird person?
I don't want to make you cry. 1973 was my first bird, named Pete. If anyone can remember the very first 45 disc from a little blue parakeet named Petey, talked over 100 words, right? So I was inspired when I was a kid to get a parakeet. My mom finally let me have one. Well, I was in Boy Scouts at the time, and I came back home from summer camp, and Petey escaped. And Mom ran through the orange groves left and right, tried to get Petey back, and she broke down crying about it. And the school was coming up in a month, and I said, "It's okay, Mom, it's okay. We'll get another Petey later, right?" I don't know if there's a video out. There's a story. Anyway, my mom, a good friend of mine, Kevin, and I, who rest his soul, we're up in the mountains. We were camping one weekend. My mom to come pick me, his brother up, and myself. We're sitting on the side of the road, and Kevin had a BB gun, and he saw a blue jay go by, and he got that blue jay in it right in my lap as my mom pulled around the corner. My mom is an RN. She made us take that blue jay, stellar jay, back all the way back down the mountains of Mount Baldy, work on it. We rehabbed it, mealworms the whole 9 yards, and drove all the way back up to the mountain. So that was planting the seed for my wildlife. But large birds, I owned a company in California, and okay, Chi-Chi, my neighbor, my boss actually gave me his cockatiels. Then another co-worker, she moved back to Ohio, gave me her birds. And this is 83, 84. And I knew I wanted to get back into birds. And I worked for a list broking company. Anyway, long story short, I started my own company from their mistakes. They were throwing away the leads. I started a list brokering company, and I started sending out a feather with every Christmas card. So when I called my clients back, they would reorder from me because no one else thought of them, for Christmas. And then my business grew and grew. And I would buy something for 5 cents. And by the time I was done with it, one name and number and lead, I was selling it for $5 to the competitor. And then the next competitor for $5.50. I've let them keep it for 90 days, give them an exclusive, but I made a lot of money. Then the internet came in 93. I sold out, and they were on my bucket list. And so I went back to school, started up with parakeets first. I had all the Flintstones, all the Jetsons, then cockatiels, and then Caesar, the Goffin's cockatoo. He was my first accidental rescue. I walked out of a bird store, combined bird seed with Pebbles, the little lemon parakeet, and a backfire happened. Pebbles flew up in the air and right back in my shirt. And this Hispanic guy thought, "Oh my God," he ran up to me and goes, "I'll give you $200 for that parakeet right now." I went, "No, you won't. She's bonded to me." And I go, "Why do you want this bird so bad?" And he told me that a family member gave a bird to his daughter and it bit him. And I go, "I got a half a dozen parakeets at home. What type of bird is it?" He didn't even know. He said, "It's a white bird, yada, yada, yada." So I go to his house the next day, and which ended up being in East LA, old 1930s garage. And when you open this garage up, you could smell the grease and oil that had been permeated in the wood. And over in the corner, there was a green-winged macaw and Caesar, Goffin's cockatoo, full flight. And I go, "Don't these birds ever get to go in the house? Don't they get out of here?" He goes, "Oh, every Sunday after church, we let them play in the tree." And so, "Oh, after church, huh?" So I begged him for the green wing, and long story short, I traded him 2 parakeets. He didn't deserve any more. And I got Caesar. And he and I have been like this ever since. So he's my flock leader. There's a video out called Caesar's Palace, or it ends up with Caesar's Palace. Vancouver.com did, or Cube.com. Just a wonderful video showing the inside of this place, which is much smaller than the other house I had around the corner. The other house is wonderful. I could, have 250 birds in it. I'm limited to about 60 here. That's why I have a few foster homes. But yes, we need foster homes, especially small bird ones, but mainly folks that have to have experience. Because, if you don't have experience in what you're doing here, the first time they get bit, they're going to come calling me,
Right. So I've kind of been hogging this. If anybody would like to jump in and ask some questions, please do. If you don't want to speak or don't have audio on there, just put in chat and we can see the questions there.
Yeah, I've answered a couple of chats. So, and I've had a lot of caffeine. So please excuse me for rambling. Okay, Diane.
Hi, yes, I'm from the Long Island Parrot Society, and I'm part of their parrot placement program. So Chris, really, what a fabulous thing that you do, and what some great tips you've given to folks who are into parrot placement. You didn't mention, but do the veterans get charged any type of adoption fee?
Absolutely. The psychology behind that, if you get something for free, and this is, and even before Parrots or Patriots, oh, I don't have to feed it today. I got it for free anyway. Okay, that's psychology. That's why they get a $250 to a $500 gift package, or even more with the macaw. You're getting a $300 tree and the $250 gift package and a T-perch or a tabletop, which they get one of these, depending upon the size of the bird, and it's made with 2 handles, depending on the purchase. So they get a tabletop T-perch, depending on the size of the bird, a larger tree, T-perch than this, and a tree, and a large gift package of seed and all of that. But so they're getting what they pay for cash-wise, because what it shows me is that they at least have $500 in case of a veterinary emergency. But in return, I'm first making sure you're a responsible home, you're stable, and this is a hidden secret. We like to place most of our birds with homeowners or someone that's stable enough that they've been 3 to 5 years where they're at, because we all know birds don't like moving. And if there is a crisis and somebody has a crisis, like look at another call I got, you never know if you're a renter, if you have to move and you have an umbrella cockatoo like this person. And the amazing thing is their parents own the house and they sold it up underneath them and gave them 45 days to get out. And nobody else around here will take it, especially 3 bird rescues have closed recently. Fran's Bird Rescue, APR, and Zazu's is relocating. So now I have, once again, the border of Canada to the border of California, because the other bird rescue in between, or the 2, they're past capacity and they don't have a facility. They have it where if someone wants to relinquish a bird, they beg them to hold on to the bird until they can find a client for them and go do a meet and greet, which obviously has not been successful because their clients, a good portion of them come to us after being frustrated with their process. They'll sit through their Zoom meeting class and then they'll go out and meet and greet at the client's house, and either they don't feel comfortable or then they go out to their home and visit. It turns into too long of a process. With us, usually within 72 hours, the bird's in your home, as easy as that. And so we were averaging 14 birds a month, and the local rescues are doing about 20 to 24 a year. So that shows you how much I'm on the road. And between that, incoming calls and outgoings and taking care of the flock here, growing the company there and having a couple acres of property, I don't sleep much, put it that way.
I guess not.
Yeah. Do you require of the people who are relinquishing the bird that they have the bird vet checked or disease tested?
Yes, 80% of the time, it's a sibling. They don't have time because they have a 9-to-5 job. So we ask them to donate to Avian Medical Center or to Avian and Exotic, or donate to us directly. And then it's a write-off for them. And then of course, we have to quarantine them. I'm not bringing psittacosis in the door, easy as that. So I'm fortunate to have one doctor that will come do some of my gram stains, but any suspects, well, they're all suspect, any suspected bird that is in a high risk immediately goes to one of my other foster homes, and then they take it down to Avian Medical, or they'll take it over to this other doctor. For me to leave and go down there, I do 3 birds at a time, because they're an hour and a half, they're an hour and 20 minutes away just getting down, but the traffic on the way back is 2 hours. I cannot afford, nor can Chi-Chi afford to have me away from here that long, unless it's at nighttime. That's why I deliver birds at night, do my home visits at night. It's a better time to deliver at night because the bird's tired wants to go to sleep, opens up in its new environment, and they wake up in the morning to their toast, apple, back to the same routine. So, but yes,
And I
we do
guess-
require birds folks to pay coming and going. Absolutely. And if
And you
they got
make
to
sure-
relinquish back to us, it's a
You-
write-off.
You make sure that people have the resources to do vet visits once they adopt a bird, because that's, you know, I'm constantly seeing online people who have birds and then they don't have money to go to the vet, and then they're doing a fundraiser, and, you know, I kind of feel like
Isn't
if you
that
don't have the money for a
disappointing?
vet, you really shouldn't have a bird
Amen.
or any animal.
Yeah, unfortunately, Facebook has become the new Craigslist. And I must get at least once a week, but once every 2 or 3 weeks, someone calling me and saying, yeah, I got the bird off of Facebook. I can't reach the people again. Their phone number is disconnected. Evidently, it was a Gmail number. Their profile is gone. They just flipped the bird for some quick money. They met him in a parking lot, or they went, one lady, they drove all the way to her home where there's no phone cell reception, dumped him with a crappy cage and an umbrella cockatoo that's supposed to love kids. And of course, the kid got bit 2 or 3 times, and mom had to throw it in the back room. It broke out of the cage, chewed a hole in the wall, got into the wires. And then she says, I can't take it anymore. I can't keep the bird locked up. They gave us a cage that the bird can't stay in. And I felt for her. So that one I suckered on. When I got to her house way out in the woods with no phone reception, and trust, I have AT&T and I have two different, Verizon phones. It was frustrating because when I got there, it's like, I don't need that cage. It's scrap metal, right? And I took the bird, and he had some behavioral issues. That unfortunately becomes the conditioning of what's going on with birds now, especially the larger ones. Oh, all I got to do is act up and yell and scream and bite somebody. So yes, that's why they're, and if it's somebody that's undesirable, I know this is recorded. This might be on YouTube. You're going to discover some rescue organizations, when you ask them what's the adoption fee or how much is it up in advance, like we're not a store, but if you feel right from the get-go that you're shopping, we're going to double and triple the adoption fee just to let you go appreciate what we do. Okay. Or if we feel that you're not a good candidate, then yeah, we're going to say, oh, well, yeah, it's just that's $350 down and $350 upon delivery, and then on top of that, we request $50 a month. But I try not to make it obvious. But before in the past, what we used to do, one of our her title is adoption coordinator. Just so I got all the terrible hate stuff said about me stopped. When I would turn down a client, I would call this little lady, and she'd go out and do the white glove test. And she's the one that says if you get to adopt or not. And she'll walk through and wipe and go, I'll get back to you with my findings. And so it's on her and not me. Okay. So yeah, maybe 1 in 20 houses turn out to be different than what I expected them to be. It's another reason why we like working with homeowners. They'll say they're a homeowner on the application, and to let you know in advance, like other agencies, we'll confirm it. Make sure you're not back on your taxes, that you're stable. And then we'll call you. We're going to vet you before, so we don't burn our time as well as the bird's time too,
Yeah, I mean, that's great. We have some rescues out here that charge substantial fees for adoption. I think basically, first of all, to pay for all the food and vet care and stuff that they have had to do for the bird already, and also as basically a means test. Can you afford this?
Absolutely.
We have other rescues out here that don't charge anything because they don't want that to be the thing to stand in the way. And there's no one good answer. There's no, it depends on the person.
Always charge something, and if you want to donate it to another nonprofit, great. You should never get something for free, because eventually that day will come up. Oh, I don't want to have to go to the store and get it chopped or mix up chop. Let me just throw up this garbage food, and then you get in the habits of throwing the bird garbage food. Then you end up with a sick bird.
It's just, it always strikes me the difference between birds and dogs and cats. I mean, people have no problem. They adopt a dog from the shelter for free or for $25, whatever it is. And then, they'll go ahead and they'll they'll pay for vet care and they'll pay for food. They don't see that as, oh, the dog didn't cost me anything, so I shouldn't spend money on the dog. But when they get a bird, there's this attitude, this budgie cost me $10. Why should I spend money on the vet? I'll just let the bird die and just get another one. So it's this huge disconnect that you don't see with dogs and cats, but you see with birds.
That's
And,
the
and again, one of the problems is people, you get a reputable rescue like yours, and people go, well, I can just go on, Pet Finder and I can get a bird for free. So why should I spend the money at a good rescue? And so you get like the really good, dedicated bird people will do it because it's the right thing to do. But then you get all the crappy people who then will take the bird for free so they don't have to pay. So it's hard to reach those people because they just don't even value the lives of birds.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I wish we could educate more folks to let them know the old saying, you get what you pay for. But if you're going to let the bird turn around and die, you don't know what it died. If you can't afford to get a necropsy done, you don't know what you brought in your house. You can have chlamydia and you're passing it around. So I wish there was some way to tell folks that birds are not a cat and dog. You're looking at a lifetime commitment. You need to vet them at least once a year, or at least every 2 years, I should say, because I'm guilty of not doing that once a year. I was so paranoid when COVID first came out. The day of its announcement, before it hit America, I have friends over in Asia. They let me know about it. I went, and I have 4 freezers that belong to the birds, and I took one of them and filled them up with frozen dinners and frozen everything because I didn't want to touch anything. And it just, I was paranoid, and I still am a little bit, because if something happens to me, I'm expanding into 4 other states. I've tripled my life insurance just because of the birds. And then the overhead here continues on. So it's important that people know that, yes, you need to charge, whether it's a cat or a dog, so that you know that you're dealing with someone that has character, that someone that has the income to make sure that they can pay a high vet bill, because it's not a cat or dog vet bill. Actually my cat was just $600 last week, but still,
Right, bird vets are always more expensive.
Your feather.
Yeah.
But it's just hard to get people look at a budgie or a cocktail or something and go, well, they're cheap, so they're not. It's like their lives don't have as much value as macaw, when of course they do. Just because they cost less money to buy doesn't mean they don't need food and they don't need toys and they don't need vet care. So it's difficult.
And it's a shame that people discount parakeets as the $5 tissue throwaway bird. If they had any idea how intelligent they are, they're the #1 talker. Have them check out Disco the Taco Parakeet, Disco the Talking Parakeet.
Oh, I love Disco, yeah.
I love Disco. And so if they had a chance to understand, if that little bird brain can do it, like Cheech, she roller skates, she does a dozen tricks, anything that she can to get attention in moderation. And the human needs to be trained the level of care, the level of attention. Our acclimation process is so important. The first 24 hours, it's almost like brainwashing. You do want the bird locked up for one reason. They need to know where the sun comes up, where it goes down, the activity in the house, especially the day before garbage day. Because once they finally get out, the primary care provider, which is very important during acclimation, only that primary care provider should be the one that feeds and waters a bird, talks to it a little bit at a time. But most important, that man or woman, whoever it may be, cannot show affection to another human being in front of the bird, nor reprimand the dog in front of the bird or anybody else, because the bird's like a sponge. It's soaking it in. So if it sees, oh, you don't like that dog, you wait till I get out of here, I'll show you my loyalty. Oh, you like her more? Let me show you how loving I am. I'm going to get rid of her. So as long as they follow that acclimation process, which is really a minimum 24 hours, 72 hours for the more aggressive bird that has that type of history, like the yellow nape that we hope to tame down, it's going to want to bond to just like that one lady. So it's imperative, and the bird stores here locally have finally caught on to that psychology. And I've been Yeah, I've been blessed to work with Christine Davis, if you few who know who she is.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I can't give out her cell number, but boy, is it nice to be able to talk to her. And it's just, and you know who her husband is probably then, if you know who she is. But it's nice being able to recognize and pass on the knowledge. And some other people are like, oh no, you're full of it, you're just making it up. It's a proven technique. And actually we need to refine it, but it's on our website. It's a downloadable PDF form. And I do need to add on a few extra things, but the adjustment period when a bird moves into a new home is crucial. And bird stores, they just want to sell you the bird, sell you a cage, sell you some toys and food so you can come back. Oh, get them groomed every 6 weeks, you know, all that, whatever it takes to get them income. I understand they have overhead, but that's when I'm given the call when they go, they didn't tell me the bird did this or that. I'm not going back to the bird store. Will you please take it? And so like, we're not the duff. It has to be, for us right now, it has to be an emergency situation. It cannot just be, you know, we just got this thing and realize it's loud or it's going to make a mess, you know?
I'll bet you get people trying to sell you birds too, right?
Oh, I love it when they go, and we're going to give you a free cage, you know?
Right, yeah. Yeah, no, I spent $10,000 on this bird and I hate it. So I need you to give me $15,000 for this bird.
And that's when I want to say they wish they didn't legalize weed. Yeah, yes, Diane.
Sorry, Chris.
No.
I know that Dr. LaFaber supports you by donating the NutriBerries. Do you have any other larger vendors that
Mike, good question. Yeah, Michael, who's the new production, actually he's a VP at Volkman's. But Volkman's, I've learned through a couple of other seed brokers, due to the drought that's been going on nationwide. And gosh, I don't want to start a panic or anything, but I'm wise enough to be 2 pallets ahead of you guys. We're slowly converting some of our birds onto pellets and NutriBerries, just in case. There's certain seeds, seed companies, one particular one that we don't like working with, because being on my end of the business, when we go do rescues and find sick birds, are on this particular type of seed, and it's not Volkman's. Volkman is great. And I cannot discuss in class here what it is, you know, just for defamation of character, but be careful of the resource. If it's one of the West Coast manufacturers, look on complaints about their seed before you were to start buying it in bulk, put it that way. But I'm getting 4 of our guys, our locations prepared, because we're up Seattle, Tacoma, Springfield area, Idaho. We're in Hawaii also. And we're already opened up in one other state down south and one more up north. Well, actually not yet up north, up in New Jersey. We're working on that in the next week or 2. And then one more in another state. I cannot divulge until I close the contracts, but we know that we have 5 states this year we're hoping to get wrapped up into, and then our goal is at least 5 more next year, preferably a total of 15. Near military institutions with good 501c3s and good standings, you know, with at least 3 years, that's willing to follow our protocol. That's another thing. Southern Cal is going to be the biggest challenge of them all, because no one wants to go do a home visit. Traffic jams down there are real big.
Hey, Chris, continue the good work. It's so wonderful what you're doing. Absolutely fabulous.
Thank you,
You're an
Barbara.
awesome person.
I'm blessed being in this position. I wish I would have started it from the beginning. I'm very particular, but yes, thank you. It's kudos like that that keep me going, you know, because there's no money in this. We all know.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's dedication.
But it's a passion. It's a passion, and it's wonderful.
It's
And
almost
of
an
course,
addiction.
I assume everyone can donate to the 501c3. I will send the donation link around.
Please do, so we can.
Oh, yeah.
support
Oh, I
this.
didn't think about that.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't worry. I'll make sure everyone gets the link. Of course, the club will make a donation as well.
Oh, it's not necessary, but it's well needed. If you go to
Of course.
our website, there's a PayPal button there.
Yeah.
I haven't been out on social media for a year. It's not that I don't want to beg, it's sort of embarrassing, but I put a lot into this project and not getting volunteers. I'm ready to even hire a shipper. I'm going to, what's that website? I keep seeing the commercial. I need to hire someone to help me get the rest of all of our logistics together so I can know how much I'm going to do for free shipping, like a $50 order minimum, I guess. I was thinking $20, but I got to get that toy company up and running. There's only 3 of us that are here, and the birds are number one. Like, since I'm done here, they're all going out in the aviary. I start doing that routine.
All right, we should probably wrap this up because it's gone a lot longer than usual.
No problem.
So I'll make sure everybody has all the contact information when the website goes live for the toys. I will make sure everyone gets that. Make sure you have the donation links. I'll hook you and Gayla together, Chris, and I'll hook you and Barbara together. We'll get all the interactions going. But I just want to thank you so much. This has been really, really inspiring. I don't know if you know, I hadn't heard about your organization until Rich from Catskill told me about you and said you were a great speaker and we should invite you. But isn't there also another organization, I want to say California, it's a sanctuary and then they bring the veterans in and the veterans.
That closed. Yeah, that was
Oh,
Matt and Doctor. I met his wife. They now since divorced. And those birds, no, there used to be. It was right next to the VA center in Los Angeles.
yes, that's right, the VA.
Right. They had to rebuild it. As a matter of fact, there might be a link to some of their old stories on our website. But Matt had to, he relocated the birds to Fraser Park. And then they also have a wolf sanctuary where they went through a separation, divorce, whatnot. I met his wife just before they got married at the Pet Expo up here in 2015. But those birds are not available for the public to adopt. That was just a meet and greet to cuddle. And he still refuses to let those birds go.
Because I thought that was such a wonderful thing. He would have all the veterans come in with PTSD and spend time learning about the birds and taking care of them. And that was, it's not an adoption program like yours, but that's
right. That's where Gayla will come in handy, because I've had a lot of people, Amy, a lot of people in that area have contacted me wanting to adopt one of our birds. They said, I'm sorry, we got to do a home visit.
Right.
Nothing against you. It's our, we've written that into our bylaws and sent it into SOS, Secretary of State. So we have to abide.
Okay. Yeah, it was just, that's what it's when Richie first told me about you, at first I was like, wait a minute, is that the same thing? He goes, no, this is totally different, but kind of the same idea about matching veterans with birds, except in your case, you adopt them out. So I thought this was a fabulous fit and a great idea for us to see how this works. And we have some more comments, by the way, in the chat for you to read before you leave. But okay, I just want to again thank you so much for inviting this. I thought this was really terrific, and
it was wonderful.
We'll be talking soon.